Thank you very much, Ursa, and thank you again for inviting me to present today. I am trying to, okay, I am not able to share my screen. Okay, so I'm gonna be doing a presentation. It's gonna be around. Can you see the full screen, or you see the?
It's not the full. It's the we can see. We can see several slides. So yeah, now it is. Now it's it's
okay,
perfect.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So so as I was saying, thank you so much, Ursa, for inviting me to present today. So I'm going to be doing a presentation between 10 and 15 minutes about a study that we have been developing in the last few months for SSATP. SSATP, it is a multi-donor trust fund in the African context. It's the acronym of the Africa Transport Policy Program that aims to build knowledge and then to share knowledge between different African countries. So the study that we have been doing in the last months, it has been to study what has been the main innovations and trends that have been happening in fair payment systems in sub-Saharan Africa, and to ask ourselves a series of critical questions that can help policymakers and private sector to make decisions in the sector. So I would like also to acknowledge the work from the colleagues from Philip, Brendan, Justin, and Chantal, who were part of this study. So the presentation has three parts. First part where I'm going to do a brief introduction about the objective of this study. A second part when I'm going to talk about the three perspectives that we used to analyze the different case studies that we have been that we have studied. And the third part, key observations and answer to few critical questions on first systems in sub-Saharan Africa. So first on the introduction, so the purpose of this study, it is to inform the development of African fair payment systems. And for that, what we did, it was to identify 6 relevant case studies in the African context. Study these case studies in detail to gain an understanding and an insight about what are the emerging landscape for payments in public transport. And with that, identify what are the key trends and lessons learned from that experience. The 6 case studies that we analyzed were the case studies from Cape Town, Kigali, Lagos, Maputo, Nairobi, which are 5 case studies from the African context, and we also selected one case study from India that we thought it was interesting because it brought an innovative change of business model also that could have potential for the African context. So in each of these cities, we focus in particular first system and analyze this using the framework that I'm going to be just presenting here. So each of these case studies, so each of these 6 case studies were analyzed under 3 key dimensions. And here what we felt it is that often we see the analysis of the fair collection system more through more seen like a technological challenge, no? So here we wanted to broaden a little bit that analysis, and as we analyze the technological changes, we also wanted to understand what are the organizational and institutional implications and changes that happen when fair collection is implemented, and also we wanted to analyze the fair collection systems from the angle of the mainstreaming of paratransit. This dimension of paratransit might be considered maybe not at a clear like cross-cutting issue, but we wanted to focus in this dimension because of the great importance for the Sub-Saharan context. Something also that we also another important organizational and institutional changes that that we wanted to analyze, it is the growth and emergence of specialized firms that provide first system service compared to the more traditional view of first systems that is a core element of public transport. And we also wanted to analyze how the role of the transport authorities had been playing into the implementation of these fare collection systems. So first, from a technological perspective, what we have seen it is that the transport smart card technologies have been developed I mean, during the last 20 years. Is not like a new technology, but it's a technology that continue to be very present in public transport, and it was developed on the back of the credit and debit card industry. There is different types of systems that can be put in place. In the African context, we have seen that many times we tend to have more like closed systems, and one of the key reasons is actually the limitations on the connectivity of the local network to be able to have an open system. However, there are some exceptions. For example, the case of Maputo. A very important technological change that we have been seeing on fare collection, it is the very, very important growth of phones in the for payment. And I think the African context is actually a very interesting example how payments using phones are actually very common for a lot of services, but there are actually at this point just few cases where this is being used for public transport. I think probably the most famous one, the one that most of the people know, it is the case of M-Pesa that was developed and implemented first broadly in the context of Kenya, but after at some point more particularly for public transport. And what we are seeing it is that the payment using mobile phone is now growing massively, led actually by China, and there is a series of new business models that are being developed around the phone payment that we will discuss later on. Regarding the organizational and institutional side, so what we see here, it is that changes on technology actually are extremely important, but what it needs to come together with it is also changes in business models and changes in organization. And these changes, what we have seen, it is very much linked on how the risk, and in particular the revenue risk, is allocated. So introducing a fare collection system might actually change the risk allocation and change also the power dynamics between different stakeholders. And this is a critical dimensions that we have analyzed in the case studies. This table is just to show the different possibilities of risk allocation, and I will also say that we should see this more like a spectrum and not maybe like a very rigid allocation of risk, but we can be in between these different risk allocation that we present here. So I think the key point on talking about the risk allocation, it is that the risk allocation is going to be influencing the incentives in in the sector, and is going to be very much influencing actually also the acceptance of fare collection for different stakeholders that might be actually winning or losing from the introduction of fare collection. And on the dimension of mainstreaming of paratransit, so I mean, I think this is all of us have recognized, and Nursa has mentioned earlier, the importance of the informal sector or paratransit in African cities. And there has been an important recognition in the last year about the importance to improve the informal sector, and this contrasts with I think the view that the sector had some years ago, where actually the informal sector was seen as an inferior mode of transport that needed to be replaced. Now we are seeing more the informal sector as a sector that has a lot of that has a lot of benefits in the way they are flexible, they are entrepreneurs, and there are opportunities actually to improve and to improve the system. And here we see that fare collection can bring interesting opportunities to improve paratransit, although from the examples that we have seen in the region, the changes actually of incentives and the incentives and the benefits from paratransit need to be also well considered when defining the fare collection system. This is the third part of the presentation, and the last part, where we wanted to present what has been the key observations of after analyzing the 6 case studies. I'm not going to present in detail the case studies, but we are going to have soon the report in the SSATP website, and you'll be able to see more detail all this information. So this last section, we wanted to organize it in a way that brings a series of critical questions that we have asked ourselves to define, to guide and to support policymakers in the Africa region on the decisions about fare collection. So these questions are mentioned here. So the first question, it is a very fundamental one. It's, are automated fare systems worth it? The second, it is if actually the most significant trend that we are seeing in fare collection is a technological trend. The third is implementing new fare systems is primarily a technological challenge. If paratransit might be improved by implementing automated fare systems. And the last question is what role should the government play in the implementation of fare systems? So the first questions, if fare systems are worth it, I think there is a general assumption that fare systems are worth it and can bring very important benefits for the efficiency of the public transport, for the convenience of the users. However, what we have seen in the different case studies, it is that many times there is not a real clarity about the objectives and a realism about the benefits that fare collection is going to be able to deliver. And what we have also seen it is that in many instances, cash remains the most convenient medium for many users. In an African context, for example, many users are not able to recharge smart card or fare payment with several trips because of an affordability issue. And actually, for every transaction they do to recharge, there might be only one trip, they need to pay a fee. So this actually could penalize the most low-income part of the population. And it might be one of the reasons they might not find it very convenient. Sometimes it's because of the recharging of the fare system, etc. So with this, we want to mean here it is that the fare systems, the automated fare systems can bring benefits, but we need to be also realistic and very objective about the context in the African cities. No, something that we have seen that in all the case studies that can bring very important benefits, it is how these fare systems can improve actually the transparency and the data provided on fare collection. And actually this is very important to improve bankability, no? And then to have a transparent accounting system on that, then the private sector can go and access, for example, financing for the sector. The second question is what is the most significant technological trends? Here, what we have seen it is the smart cards continue to be broadly used in the African context. We see that mobile phones and especially smartphones have the potential to offer a much wider functionality for than smart cards, and we are seeing in different case studies that is being more and more used. However, here also a point of caution, and there is still quite a lot of users in the African context that don't have smartphones or might not feel comfortable using them. So this is also an important dimension while designing fare collection systems. And there has been also, as I mentioned before, the development up to now, it has been mainly focused on more like card-centric systems, like more like closed systems. And there are just few examples of more account-based systems. So the proven of this approach, it's also something that we will be assess moving forward. I mean, I think the case of Maputo, for example, is one case of account-based system. The third question is if implementing new fare system is primarily a technological challenge. Here, what we have seen it is that the technological trends are indeed a very important trend and a challenge for the sector to introduce fare systems. But even more important than that, it is how the transport operators work and affect the incentive structure and power relations when these fare collection systems are introduced. So in order to introduce these fare systems, it is very important to not only consider like a technological change, but it needs to design the first system aligned with the revenue risk in the system, no? And it's also important to know that these first systems is also likely to add much more value if the relationship are structured. So the interest of the first system owners are well aligned with improving the effectiveness of the transport business overall. And this is very much related also to what we were mentioning before about the risk allocations and the incentives that this brings to the system. The fourth question is if paratransit can be improved by implementing automated fare systems. So here the answer is yes, but what we have seen is that there has been some attempts in this direction in the region, and there has been mixed results in that regard. And this actually is due to the fact that changes and improvement of paratransit requires changes in business models that enable the change from these individual operations to a more collective management on fleet and on the pool of funds generated through the fare collection. So although fare collection be extremely important to support this formalization or improvement of the paratransit. It should come together with a clear business model that it's also well accepted by paratransit. And the last question, it is what role should have government in the implementation of FAIR systems. Here, what we have seen it is that often national and central governments have the resources and the political power to initiate fair changes in FAIR systems. However, from the cases that we have analyzed, we have also seen that citywide municipalities or transport authorities are key in the success of the implementation of this fare collection system, and in many of the cases actually the fare collection system was initiated by the authorities, such as is the case of Lagos, or the case of Maputo, and also I mean in the case of the city of Cape Town, it was a citywide municipality. So the way we see it here, it is that there is a role for central government to support these improvements in the FAIR systems. However, there is a very important and maybe key role more at a local level or at an authority level to be able to drive and to implement these FAIR collection systems. So with this, I just finish here my presentation. We are going to be soon publishing this report in the SSATP website, so please check in our website for more information coming soon. Thank you very much.